Yes. Shoot. You play video games? And you're a girl?
Oh, shit.
Hey humans, so I've got a problem. I'm a really huge nerd, but I'm also a really huge feminist. Now I know that doesn't sound like a problem. I mean, after all, they're completely unrelated things.
Now, you would think that those two are unrelated things, that they have nothing in common with each other. One's nerd culture, where we play video games and board games and read science fiction and fantasy, or just nerd about general shit. You know, you don't have to be a nerd and like sci-fi games, etc, etc, etc. You could do comic books, you could do you could do movies, you could do all sorts and be a nerd. But the fact remains is, feminists like you make it the same. You inject your feminism into the nerd culture where it does not need to be. For example, comic books, movies, and so far, and thankfully you've hit a brick wall, video games. You ruined comic books with your injection of social justice and feminism. You tried to change it and mould it to suit your own needs because you were not happy that it didn't cater to you. You know, rather than make your own little art and your own little video games and what have you, instead you decide you want to change the actual culture and the stuff that is born out of that culture to suit your own needs, because that is what intersectionalists and identity politics people want to do, because for some reason that is furthering the cause of diversity and equality for everyone. Well, I hate to say it to you, but you're wrong. And this is what you tried to do throughout this entire video. You're trying to inject your feminism, love, into nerd culture. And you see, if you love nerd culture so much, you would know that the problem does not lie with the nerds. It lies with, oh well, that's spoilers, people. Next.
One's about enjoying certain video games and movies and TV shows, and the other one is about creating equality and acceptance for all kinds of people.
Well, you see, you're wrong again, because judged on the actions of your ideology and your movement, especially their actions taken against and interacting with the nerd culture that you so love to say that you love so dearly, suggests the opposite. In fact, it suggests to me that they are not for equality, that they are not for all these great social justice causes that you think they ought to be. In fact, they are the opposite, because as we can see, I'm going to give you a few political things first, and then we'll get into the nerd culture thing. Fathers' rights, what have they done for them? They did nothing but, in fact, swing the pendulum over to the mother during the early 20th century. They have done nothing to combat male suicide. They have done nothing to help male homelessness. All under the guise that they say that feminism should help men as well, because if we liberate the women, the men will be liberated too. And now let's see what they've done to the nerds. They have co-opted their media that is supposed to protect them against the mainstream, who love to belittle them and bully them, and have instead turned them into manipulating and bullying entities. Why else would we not see the likes of Gamers Are Dead and the shaming that we've got from complaining about canon changes in the Fantastic Four movies and Thor being turned into a woman and getting an inferior product as a result? What else do we have? Oh, let's not forget the complete and utter lack of respect for the women who have always been there, for the girls that have always been in nerd culture. Because, you see, You people conveniently have ignored these people. But we'll get into that a little bit more. Right now, I want to see where this goes.
But unfortunately, there's been this string of anti-feminist thought going on in nerd culture, and I've tried to avoid it for a long time, but now I think it's just time I confront it head on.
And you wonder why there is an anti-feminist strain of thought currently in nerd culture. It's because you guys are toxic. You've come in and you've decided that you are going to change the culture, whether people like it or not, to suit your needs, because you think that it's not good enough, that it's somehow not diverse enough, that it's not got enough women, even though it's always had women and it's always been a 50-50 split, that there's not enough minorities, even though they've always been there and they've always been as represented in nerd culture as they have been in real life. You want to change it because you want to control it. You guys have an urge to control things because you are identity politicians, you are authoritarians, and all good authoritarians have to control things that they do not yet control. You want to control it because it gives you power. That is why there is anti-feminist thought in nerd culture. And let's not forget the bullying and the misrepresenting and the lying that has been spewing forth from the feminists to the mainstream about nerd culture. They are misrepresenting them and they are bullying them and they are trying to show that they are horrible and nasty to the mainstream because, look, this is a problem. We've got to control it, we've got to sort it out, we've got to change it so that we can somehow sort this societal ill. Do you not see why nerds are against feminism? Also, let's not forget, as I mentioned before, the toxicity that they bring along with it and the fact that they have been corrupting the media that the nerds helped basically build themselves from the grassroots up. And then they destroyed also the art and everything else that comes along with that because it's not to their image. They don't like it. So rather than making their own shit within nerd culture, they have to latch on to the existing games and board games and films and TV shows and comic books and leech off them and turn it into their own bastardised image. Hence why we have female Thor and a covered up Wonder Woman. But go ahead, bask us in the glory of your brilliant commentary on anti-feminism within nerd culture, because apparently that's a problem. That is a problem for me as well as you. But from where I'm standing, it's a potential cure to another problem.
So look, if you're a nerd, I'm not calling you an asshole or a misogynist or anything like that, okay? I'm not here to attack you and tear you down. But if you're already discrediting my opinion because I said I'm a feminist, then we need to have this talk. Because I love nerd culture. I love that there are passionate people that can unite together around a shared love for certain things.
Unlike good feminists and religious zealots, you say this: I'm not going to call you a misogynist, I'm not going to call you a sexist, I'm not going to attack you for your views. I'm just going to attack you for your views and call you a sexist and misogynist anyway, but in a completely different way that will make you think, oh, maybe they're not attacking me, when actually I am. It's just like how the recent Pope said that I'm not going to judge gay people, but we all know they're eventually going to be thrown into hell because they're gay. Do you see, people, what she's trying to do here?
I love smashing. I mean, playing Super Smash Bros. For hours with my friends. I used to play Halo and Call of Duty all the time. I still geek out over Harry Potter on a daily basis. And there have definitely been times where I just watched anime all night for hours and hours on end.
Yes, whatever. You're very nerdy. Oh, we should respect your nerdy cred. Right. Whatever. This doesn't prove you're a nerd, this just proves you've done these things before. But this isn't about your cred. This isn't about my cred. This is about you trying to basically get your hook, line and sinker and latch it onto any nerd that you can try and brainwash. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling me, because this is where the but will come in, people. Where they say, I'm all into this, but there is a problem and we have to sort this out because these things are problematic.
And nerd culture is a huge, complex thing that can never be boiled down to one person or one train of thought. But it does tend to be mostly straight, cisgender men.
Here we go, people, a red flag. You see here? But it's full of straight white guys. It's full of straight white guys! Oh my god! It's only full of straight white guys in Western Europe. It's not like that in Japan. It's not like that in Morocco. It's not like that at all in Korea. It's certainly not like that in fucking South Africa. Although, that said, maybe the people rich enough to have a habit or maybe a hobby like gaming and film would probably be white, but nonetheless the vast majority would probably be black. Just saying. This is the problem with these social justice ideologues. They see things, particularly the American ones, through the American lens. So they seem to think that all these problems affect everyone, when they don't affect everyone. They don't. They certainly don't affect me, and certainly don't affect my nerd friends. And why is it that because it's full of straight white men in America, that is a problem? You say that it's full of all these diverse things, yet it's got white guys. Why? Are white guys not diverse enough? I mean, the people who made The Witcher 3 are exactly the same as the people who made Hitman and Absolution. I mean, and they're exactly the same as the people who made Gone Home, aren't they? But, you know, hey, straight white guys. They're all the same, they all think the same, they all do the same things. They're just one amorphous blog that we have to make as the boogeyman, because apparently they control the world. Even though the world is globalising and there's a new superpower afoot, and its name is, I just don't know, China, isn't it? And what race are they? Oh, yeah, the Chinese, aren't they? And they're not white, they're yellow. Well, it depends really where you go in China. I mean, if you go to the west of China, they tend to get a bit more Central Asian, you know, kind of borderline Afghanistan, Turkmenistan kind of places. Yeah, apparently white guys rule the world, just because America at the moment is, you know, even though they've got a black president, he's really mixed race, isn't he? But apparently white guys rule the world.
Even if it's by accident, nerd culture does manage to exclude women and LGBTQ plus people in a bunch of different ways.
You're a trans person, that's what I can gather, because you are, at least physically, looking from the outside of a male kind of body, but inside you're a woman, and you express that outward with the makeup, and you do have feminine expressions, and you talk like a girl, and that's okay. So you're trans, and I'm cis scum, although I am also mixed race. If you can't tell, well, that's not my problem, that's your problem. You're a nerd. I'm a nerd. More geeky me, but oh well, geeks don't exist anymore apparently. But anyway, we're having this conversation right here about nerd culture. How the hell is it stopping women and trans people and minorities from being nerds? How is it stopping them from being included? You are included. You join this culture. They let us in. And I let you in, and you let me in, because you're older than me. So, yeah, you let me in, and the people before that let you in. They didn't give a shit about what you are. They just care if you care about all the stuff that they like or don't like, so you can talk about your passions and be nerds together. How the hell is it stopping you from being included when you're having a conversation about the culture that you are a part of? The only people who are stopping other women, minorities, hell, they're even stopping other white guys. Don't forget, most white guys and most trans people and most minorities and most women are not nerds, and they never have been and they never will be, no matter how mainstream it gets. They will still be the ones who will be bullied. Most people are just that. They're the jocks, they're the goths, they're whatever, even though there's a lot of overlap, nowadays especially. There will always be normies, and always be nerds and other subcultures. A subculture is meant to be a part of other things. It's meant to be separate from the mainstream. You can't get more inclusive unless you share a similar set of values. And let's not forget that maybe it's your side that is stopping potential nerds from becoming nerds. You know, potential female nerds, potential minority nerds. It's you people spreading the lies and the spin and the demonisation, saying that they've got a misogyny problem, they've got a racist problem, you know, take your pick, take any of the narratives. It's all on you. It's all on you fear-mongering. It's not on the nerd culture, because in nerd culture there's always been minorities, there's always been women, there's always been trans people, there's always been gay people, there's always been bi people and everything in between, and they were all pretty much doing their own thing until you people came along and told us that we have a problem. We've got to sort it out. No, you have a problem with us, so you're going to create the problem, or at least make one up in your heads, and then twist and mould and destroy nerd culture, and then rebuild it into something in your own image. That is what you're saying. And you have the cheek to say that nerd culture is not inclusive, that it's pushing away people, when you yourself are an admitted nerd and a trans person, and I am a minority. The irony in that statement is absolutely appalling. Do you have any self-awareness whatsoever, love? I'm just asking. Because it doesn't appear like you know what inclusivity means.
And that sucks, because nerd culture is supposed to be the culture of the neglected. It's supposed to be the culture of the people who were never popular in high school, or who didn't have a lot of friends, or who were bullied for one reason or another.
That may have been the case 15 years ago. It may have been the case 20 years ago. It may have been the case 25 and 30 and 40 years ago. But that's not the case anymore in 2015. Yes, there's still some hangovers from that horrible era where nerds were lambasted and bullied and outcast. That will probably always remain. But nerd culture and geek culture have gone mainstream, and they have gone mainstream since the mid-noughties. Since the rise of video games, funnily enough, and that's coincidentally, you know, coincided with you people latching on like the parasites you are and trying to co-opt it and change it to suit your own needs. You call yourself a nerd, yet you do not know these details. Nerd culture, yes, is a subculture of people who were once the social outcasts and are now the biggest industry in the world. Nerd culture sells billions all over the world. There are Comic Cons in Manchester, Comic Cons in San Diego, Comic Cons in Seoul, I reckon, all the way in South Korea. That is $1 billion business. That is mainstream. It's not what you say it is anymore. And the fact that you say that it's a shame that, you know, oh, you should be inclusive because you're the social outcasts. Oh, well, no. The onus is not on us to be inclusive because we're outcasts. Well, if you want to hang out with us, for fuck's sake. It's that fucking simple. It's not a question of politics. It's a question of passion and fondness for things that make up nerd culture. Because like you said, it's not all the same unless you're a straight white male.
As a culture basically founded on being outcasts, I think it's absolutely necessary that we are as open and accepting as possible.
But it's a subculture. It's a subculture. It's not meant to be as inclusive and as, you know, happy to bring in new people as much. It's supposed to be relatively insular and inward looking. Although that's technically the same word, but that doesn't matter. They don't. That's the point. It's insular, kind of, you know, wary of outsiders. But that's not because the outsiders are female or gay or trans or minorities. No, it's because they're not nerds. They don't know they're nerds until they realise through verbal communication or body communication. You know, looking at a t-shirt, looking at a bag or a toy or a video game. We don't know if they're nerds or not until they come and say, hey, you're nerds, I'm a nerd. Let's hang out. That is inclusivity for a subculture. It's the mainstream's job to do that shit to us, to be inclusive of us, but it hasn't, because people like you are telling them that we're horrible, we need to sort our shit out, that we're misogynists and racists, and we're full of straight white men, even though actually straight white men are the minority, if we look at it through a global lens. There is no problem with inclusivity in nerd culture. The problem is with feminism.
Otherwise, nerd culture becomes just as mean and elitist as the people who bullied us in high school.
That is a fallacy. No, it does not. That does not make the nerds as bad as the high school bullies just because they don't accept people who aren't nerds. Bear in mind that the race and the sexual orientation and the sex has no bearing on that. It's all about what's in here. You are a piece of work, aren't you, girl?
Consider yourself a nerd. All I'm asking is that you hear me out and listen with an open mind and try to imagine what it would be like if you were a woman or a part of the LGBTQ+ community.
Notice, she says you. She says you. Not nerds. She's not talking about nerds. She's talking about straight white men. You have to empathize with us because you have a perceived problem with us. Even though the vast majority of white people do not have a problem with all these people. It's basically, shut up, listen, and this is how I'm going to rule the roost from now on. This is how things are gonna be. This is what she's saying. She's not asking for your sympathy and your empathy. She just wants you to shut up, listen, and believe. And this is how the SJWs and the feminists are going to rule and change nerd culture. That is what she's saying, and this is not a message to the nerds, this is not a message to nerd culture, this is not a message to the community, this is a message to the white male population of this culture, remember? No, she's not referring to people like me, she's not referring to people like the honey badgers who are mostly female and are crazy nerds. You know, some of them write comics, some of them make video games, I think, probably, who knows? I don't know what they do, but they all work within nerd culture. She's not talking to them, she's talking to the white guys, like Brad Wardell, okay? This is a message to them. When she says nerd culture, it is a euphemism for straight white males. Maybe the odd Japanese guy, because, you know, social justice warriors and feminists are also quite racist and don't quite like Japanese culture, because, you know, as Saint Anita once said, we bomb them back to traditionalism.
So here it is, 5 ways you can help nerd culture become more inclusive.
And this is the problem. The onus is always on the men, always on the straight white men to make it more inclusive, because apparently these are the guys who run a culture of individuals who all have their own likes and dislikes and their own interpretation of the culture and the communities within it. It's a subculture of many different things. You know, you've got chans, you've got anime, you've got books, you've got films, you've got all sorts of shit. Yeah, apparently it's up to the white guys to change it, because apparently just because they happen to be the people who, along with the white women, don't forget, but, you know, there's some protected group, you know, because the women, they don't count, you know, 50%? No, never mind, it's about the other 50%. They have to change it for us, because we're too lazy to enact any change. We don't want to, you know, become part of nerd culture. We want nerd culture to become a part of us. And this is how straight white men can become feminists. This is what she's saying. Nerd culture is already inclusive to these people, but these people have to be nerds in order to be part of their culture. It's that simple. This is 5 steps to be a feminist, not 5 steps to be more inclusive, okay? Let's get that out of the way.
Number 1, don't act like it's a miracle if a woman or a girl likes video games or other nerdy things.
And that is why that skit at the beginning was so important, because she was trying to put into your head already about the socially awkward teenager who is white and male and has acne all over him. He wears glasses, he has his pens in his shirt pocket, and he basically just can't believe that outside of his own nerdy group of male friends, that there are girls like that who also play video games and are nerdy. She wants this stereotype in your head so that she can then brainwash you and say, this is what needs to change. This is a bad thing, because some socially awkward people who don't go out often, not necessarily their own fault that they don't know these people, but never mind that, you know, they're sexist. Because they're surprised that women play video games. I see, maybe at one point this may have been a surprise, because, you know, for whatever reason, video games didn't quite take off for women until, you know, I'd say very recently. It's only now that we're starting to see more and more women get into it. For whatever reason. It's a consumer-based choice. But apparently this is a bad thing. This doesn't include women. This makes people less eager to join the nerd culture because guys apparently, all the white guys get absolutely crazy over girls playing video games. You see, surely that would be a good thing, that these people are surprised in a good way and are absolutely thrilled that you like video games. Shouldn't that make you feel happier to be part? That they can be so accepted. Oh my god, you play video games, come on here, come on. We're just playing some Persona 4, yeah. Apparently that's a bad thing. Apparently that that is against inclusivity. That turns people away. No, it doesn't. And even though that is not what the average nerd is like, the average nerd actually probably isn't as socially awkward as she's trying to paint them as. And I am no longer surprised when girls say they play video games anymore. Because, one, I've gotten out of the house more, I've become more socially active as I've grown older and learned how to deal with social interactions, because everyone knows, if they've been following my channel for a couple of months now, I've got Asperger's, so that's difficult for me. And these people don't understand that. They don't understand that element. Not everyone has to have Asperger's to be socially awkward or be autistic, but when people are shunned and people are bullied for these things, people who aren't bullied but are nerds tend to keep it on the down low, and they're not aware of each other. So this surprise is not just heaped onto women, but other men. It's a surprise to see other people with the same interests as you. It's a great surprise. And that is how the nerd culture grew, because of this surprise. Because people realised, oh shit, we have the same interests. This is fantastic. Let's just, after school, do this thing every now and then. No, not the jocks don't have to know. But no, apparently that's bad. Apparently it's terrible. Apparently it makes it less inclusive.
I know that my skit in the beginning of the video was a little exaggerated.
How? How is it insulting to women? Citation needed, please. How does a compliment... Oh, compliments are because of proud men. Yes, the proud men's law. All compliments made by men that we don't like are insulting. Okay, I'll remember that from now on. How is that a bad thing? You do not speak for all women. Okay? You do not speak for all women. You do not know what's in their minds. Okay? You do not know. You've not even... I don't know. Have you transitioned or not? I don't know. You don't look like that from my perspective. So don't... And this is not an insult at all. I have not insulted your character at all. Okay? You've insulted my character. You've insulted my character. But I'm trying to refrain from that. Okay, so... You still do not have the right to speak on behalf of all of them. You don't even have the right to talk on behalf of all trans people, like you feminists constantly do. You constantly talk on behalf of everyone else, as if you know exactly what they're thinking. You think they all think the exact same thing. They don't. I think you'll find some women like that surprise. Maybe they're also surprised that these guys do the same things that they do. Do you not think it goes both ways? It's reciprocal. That maybe the girls feel happy that these guys are so accepting. Maybe they thought, oh, what are they going to think? What are they going to think? That girl that plays video games. Oh, you play video games? Wow, here, have a beer, sit down, play some Halo. Hell fucking yeah. Apparently that's a bad thing. That is a bad thing, and we should be ashamed of ourselves.
But just a little bit. I've actually seen people act that surprised when they find out that a woman likes video games or Star Wars or anything like that. Even when it's intended as a compliment, it's really insulting to women. Because nerd women have been around for as long as nerd men have been around. They've just been ignored and shoved to the sidelines because of some very systematic misogyny.
And here we are. We were just thinking that she said that, oh, I'm not going to accuse you of misogyny or anything. I'm not going to call you sexist. But I'm going to call you sexist anyway. You see? This is what they do. Nerd women are not ignored by other nerd men. It wasn't the nerds that did this, it was you! You ignored all the women who had a great impact on video games and nerd culture because they were an inconvenience to you and your narrative. You were the ones who airbrushed them from history, who ignored them, who ignored their existence because it was inconvenient. You wanted nerd culture to be seen as a old boys club, as this place full of misogynist, hateful white men. But here you are saying that nerd women were here from the start. Why are you nerds trying to push them away because it's inconvenient to you? Bullshit, that is you. You hypocrite, that is you. That is you guys doing that. That is you, not us. Nerd men didn't do that. We didn't do it. You did. You're the ones who sat back and airbrushed them a mystery. Why do you think Not Your Shield is around? Hashtag Not Your Shield. Because people like you claim to speak on behalf of these other people, and they are sick and tired of you doing that, because you do not. Misogyny is not the reason why these women's voices are not being heard. It's not the nerd culture's fault. It's your fault. You're the ones censoring them. And yet, you're trying to pin it on me. I'm not buying it.
The gaming industry and other parts of nerd culture have by and large been run by and for men.
No, it hasn't. Citation needed once more. Because as we can see, in the early days and even now, all throughout gaming history, whenever we see a advertisement, it's always boys and girls and the whole family joining together to play whatever it is, from the ColecoVision to the PS4. Gaming has always been about everyone. You can go ahead and make your own social justice video game with a trans character if you want. The market is there. The market is there. Gaming has never been run by men for men. It has been run by people for the people, or for the gamers. Of course, there are games that are marketed towards men, and there are games marketed towards women. That is simple market economics. That is capitalism. Supply meets demand. There is a supply of games made for bro-type guys, you know, FIFA and COD, and the bro-type guys want them. Likewise, there are games like Gone Home, who are for the social justice warriors like you. There are games for everyone, and that has always been the case. Always. Always, since the 70s. Always been the case. Yet here you are, again, lying and misrepresenting the industry that you purport to love. Well, I don't see a lot of love coming out of you. So far, I just hear hate in an undercurrent.
And when you act surprised that a woman likes something nerdy, you're insinuating, whether intentional or not, that it's unusual or weird for her to like that.
And now she's accusing you of thought crime. Because you are surprised that a girl likes video games, even though you might not be surprised. You might just be surprised that this person... See, notice how these people are always statistics. They're not actually people. You see, that's what she does. That's what they all do. You're just a statistic to talk about. Because if they talked about individuals, their collective minds would explode. They're collectivists. Their whole ideology rests on the fact that all people in groups act and think the same. While they, say all the opposite shit, apart from, white guys, they all do the same things, innit? They're all oppressive shitlords. But anyway, where was I? Ah yes, thought crime. You see, it's a thought crime to act surprised. Because somehow, somewhere, you are insinuating that it's not normal for these girls to like video games, somehow. That is not normal. Even though it wasn't nerd culture that said it was normal, not normal. It was the feminists and the mainstream society that said that. It was feminists saying, oh, women, be careful. Don't go joining this industry because it's misogynist and hateful. Wait for us to purge it and then it'll be nice. Then it'll be nice and safe for you all. Don't give me that bullshit.
The only thing weird about this whole situation is that nerd men have been pretending that nerd women haven't existed for such a long time.
Sargon's law in effect, people. Sargon's law in effect. As I've just said before, it's you doing it. It's fucking you. It's you, you lying sack of shit. It's you. It's you who pretended that nerd women didn't exist so you could create this narrative of the old boys club to attack nerd culture. It was you, not us. We didn't pretend. We knew they were always there. We always knew they were there. We were the ones communicating with them and playing games with them online and in our living rooms. It was you, not us. That is the biggest sort of bullshit I've ever heard. That is straight up projection.
Number 2, don't force people to prove that they like something. So you meet a woman and she says that she likes Star Wars, and you manage to play it cool and you don't act surprised, but you don't really believe her. So you ask her questions like these. Who's Chewbacca's grandfather? Which hand does Luke Skywalker have cut off? What color is Yoda's lightsaber?
I'm sorry, but that is so stupid, I cannot believe it. Proving cred. You prove your cred through your actions, not through other people's questions. You see, you don't know how men talk to girls, do you? You see, I'm going to quote V here, sort of, kind of paraphrasing. When a man meets a girl and he's keeping it cool and he wants to talk to her and get her attention, you know, maybe for another date or maybe to get off with her or whatever, you know, he asks her questions. We ask girls questions because we want to keep their attention on us, and also girls like talking about themselves. So if the girl says, oh, I like Star Wars, and I'm going, oh really, you like Star Wars? Why? Blah 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 blah, constantly asking the questions. That's not me trying to prove her nerd cred, as if, why would I even think that? When someone says they like something, I automatically assume they like it. You know? And then their actions speak for themselves. And if she, you know, can't answer my questions properly, then it's clear she doesn't like them. But I'm not doing it because I'm trying to test her nerd cred. I'm doing it because I'm trying to hold a conversation. That's why. People do it to each other. It's not also just a male-female thing. It's a male-male thing and a female-female thing. We ask each other questions about things. That is not stopping people from being in nerd culture. That is bullshit.
But all of these questions are really just part of a test to find out if she's really nerdy or not. But men aren't subjected to tests like this. If you're a guy and you say that you like Star Wars, people just believe you. And it should be the same for women.
Again, more lies and citation needed on that. Men get asked questions about these things too. I have asked men questions, men have asked questions. To me, men, in fact, get it harder. Especially online, men have to prove their worth more on online battles such as, you know, I don't take it, World of Warcraft for example, the women do. In fact, it's been statistically proven that women get it easier when it comes to initiation within a online clan or nerd culture type thing than men do. That is a lie. That is a lie. You clearly have not spent a lot of time in this community, and I hate to try and prove your own point, but it's almost as if the way you'll talk about nerd culture, you aren't a nerd, but you're someone who's come in to change it to suit your own needs, like I said. But I don't know. I can't judge, unlike you.
If someone says that they like something, just let them like it. They don't have to be an expert with every single detail memorized.
You see, that's funny, because you feminists cannot accept that nerds like what they like, but so you have to change it so that you can like it, and hope that they like it. That's funny, that's just more projection.
Number 3, advocate for more diverse characters in video games, TVs, movies, and books. Even though I love all different kinds of media, there's a problem with most of it. It's a lot of straight, white, cisgender men.
So basically, be a social justice warrior. Please, please. In order to make this culture more and more inclusive, we have to make it so that we like it. It doesn't meet our standards, therefore it has to meet our standards in order for it to be acceptable. That's what she's saying. She's saying, advocate for this because, you know, there's too many straight white guys. What the fuck? What the fuck? That is one of the most stupidest things I've ever heard. So basically, you have to change everything so that they're pleased. So that you know, straight white men don't exist anymore, and all it is, you know, fat people and trans people, etc. Even though it should be whatever a person should be able to create on their own. You know, it should be, you know, if I want a cast of entirely white people, I will have a cast of entirely white people, and I don't give a shit what you say. Or I can have an entire cast of black people. I shouldn't have to include a gay person in there, I shouldn't have to include a woman in there, I don't have to do any of these things. It's called artistic expression and freedom of speech. No, what she wants you to do is to not advocate for diversity, because diversity comes naturally with the people within the group. No, instead you have to force it upon people, you have to stall their creative freedom, you have to stop all that because she doesn't like it. Too many straight people, too many cisgender people, she doesn't like them. So we have to make it so that she approves of it. That's why. That's what she's saying.
Video games largely feature playable male characters with over-sexualized female characters.
The men are also over-sexualized. But this isn't even most games. This isn't even games. This is only a certain sub-genre. Hell, it's not even a sub-genre, it's just a certain group of games have these elements. Not all games do. Some games don't even have men and women. Some have just dots and fucking robots and inanimate objects or bread, even. Games aren't all about men and overly sexualised women. You see, this is the problem. She's creating all these stereotypes so that you guys can then get all shamed about your culture and try and change it for her. And social justice and feminism, it's not about you, it's about them.
Movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings have almost no women at all, and most of the characters in all of our media tend to be white. You could argue that this is changing. Women have been playing more prominent roles in upcoming books and movies like The Hunger Games and Divergent, and FIFA 2016 will be the first edition of the game to feature playable female characters, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for people of color, women, and LGBTQ people.
So what? How is that a bad thing? You're just saying these people have, whoever, have made films and books that have not enough women in it. So what? How's that a bad thing? Just because there's men in it, and who you think are straight white men, that therefore is a bad thing. That's all. You are the one who has a problem with diversity. You, because you have a problem with straight white cisgendered men, and you don't like them being in things and creating things for whatever reason, and you don't know why. But you are the prejudiced one, and you're projecting your prejudice onto everyone else. And it's not right. So what? Star Wars doesn't have a lot of women in it. You only need Leia. Leia alone is enough. And that's not because she's a woman, that's because she's a fucking great character. And I don't think who else are you gonna get? Who else are you gonna get who can be the supporting role to her as a woman? I don't know. The new person who is in the next one has a lot to live up to. And besides, look at Lord of the Rings, loads of strong women in that. Have you actually watched them? So what if there's few women? The women in it are strong characters. Is that enough? Oh no, you just need loads of them. There has to be a quota for it. You have to fill all these numbers and shit because, equality. I'm sorry, diversity. Listen, I'm a mixed race guy here, okay? Diversity for diversity's sake does not create good art. It doesn't even create a good society, even. It doesn't. Be careful what you wish for, you might just get it.
Representation is important. People need to see themselves represented in our media. It inspires people and it sets the status quo for what's normal.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't state the status quo for what's normal. People don't need to feel represented to feel empowered and inspired. No, they don't. I can't tell for the life of me how many people have been inspired by great men and great women. People are inspired by great things, regardless of what those great things are. You do not need representation to feel empowered and to feel good about yourself. If that's what you need, that's you. That's not other people. Stop projecting.
And I think we're on the right track, but we need to keep pushing for more diverse characters.
Gotta keep up that brainwashing and drinking that poison Kool-Aid, people.
Number 4, be wary of the language that you use.
Oh, is it me or is it getting a bit Orwellian in here? Whew.
Have you ever been on Xbox Live? It's like the comment section of the gaming community, just horrible slurs and terrible things that you never want to hear all in one place. I had to quit that thing back in high school. But certain words and slurs genuinely hurt people and make them not want to be a part of the community.
So what you're telling me is basically you can't handle banter that 12 to 16-year-olds have, or banter that young adults have, or that normal older adults have. You can't handle words that are being said to you. So you have to change the way people speak in order to make it right for you, so that you're not offended. Well, who fucking who? The world doesn't work like that. You know what you can do? Mute it. You don't have to leave. You can mute the dialogue that people are saying. You can mute all those things and play your merry way. You can turn off chat boxes. You can do all these things. These are options right there in front of you. But the thing is, you don't care about these things. You don't give a shit about them. That doesn't help the narrative. What helps the narrative is to complain about this shit so that you have something to use as a dartboard of which to throw numerous feminist and social justice darts so you can victimise these people just for things that they said. These are things that hold up to the mainstream and to other feminists and say, look, horrible people, got to destroy them, got to put them down a peg or two, got to control them, because words on the internet offended me. Grow up. Grow the fuck up, girl. If you can't handle shit like that, then I don't know how you live your life. How do you talk to your friends when they banter back and forth with you? Do you go all insular inside and go passive aggressive? Oh, these fucking bastards, they hurt my feelings. Oh.
For example, if you use rape as a synonym for destroying something, you can cause PTSD flashbacks for rape survivors.
So what? That's not my problem. That's not my fault that they've got PTSD. That's not my fault. Why should I police my words to think about these hypothetical people who don't exist? Why should I care? Why are they even there? If they know that these words are going to be said, and they know they're going to get triggered by them, why are they on Xbox Live then? That's not my fault, and I should not be made to feel guilty for things that I haven't done to people that don't exist.
If we want nerd culture to be one of acceptance, we have to be willing to change some of the words that we use to make people feel more welcome.
We have to control the language, people. Control the way people speak and feel, so feminism and social justice can have an easy way to slither in and parasite off the culture and change it to suit their own needs, so they can control it. It's all about control, people. It's not about other people's feelings. She doesn't give a rat's ass about these people's feelings. She only cares about the control and the narrative. That's all she cares about. She may give off this nice, pleasant exterior, but inside there's an authoritarian waiting to control you. Because she doesn't like you, and she doesn't like what you say and what you do. So therefore you have to change. That's the reason for all this power grabbing, people.
I think a lot of people have this mentality that you can choose what words offend you, and that people who are hurt by words are just being too sensitive. But that's a really damaging way of looking at it. Words have a lot of power because they have historical and cultural significance, but also a lot of times people associate certain words with traumatic events in their lives.
You see, this is the problem. It's all subjective. All these words have different meanings ascribed by different people, different groups, different countries even. These words on their own mean nothing without the context. It's all about context. But she doesn't give a rat's ass about context. These are just words. The feminist meaning is the meaning. The social justice meaning is the meaning. Therefore, if you say this word, this is against equality, this is against diversity, because reasons. Because we want to control the way you think. We need to control the way you speak. And how do we do that? By controlling your language. You see what I mean? How it's getting really Orwellian here? Because all this... Oh, God, you're thinking I'm saying wrong speak or something. You know, the ministry of bad words or something. God, whew.
Brushing off this whole argument by saying that people are too sensitive really makes nerd culture a place where only people who haven't been traumatized by particular slurs are allowed to be.
Oh, bullshit. Just because you're sensitive to words on the internet doesn't mean that we all have to cater for you. That's exactly my argument. Yeah. Why should we? Just because you're offended by words, or other people may be offended. And what are they doing here? What are you doing here? Why should I have to control the way I speak to fit you? Why? Why? You're not the moral arbiter of my life. You're not the moral arbiter of any kind of life whatsoever. You're sensitive. So what? Fuck off. Just fuck off. Go away then. If you can't handle it, why are you here? If you can't handle people being nasty, then I'd hate to see how the hell you handle real life. Because real life is fucking worse than nasty people, believe me. God, who cares about these people? Who cares? It's horrible that these hypothetical people have been traumatized by words, but that's them. That's them associating these words with these events and these people. That's you doing it, not me. Not me. Again, it's subjective, it's all about context. And you're trying to control what I'm going to say and what I'm going to think and what I'm going to feel. And I refuse to let you do so.
Number 5, don't threaten people that criticize you or nerd culture.
Well, that's funny, because you've done nothing but shame people so far. You've shamed the culture, and yet you have the cheek to tell us to not be angry and not to send threats. Really, this has been a whole veiled threat against nerd culture. This message, this video is basically saying if you do not change, we will change you. We will destroy you and build you up in our own image. This whole video is a threat and you know it. Stop projecting.
I feel like this last one should go without saying, but apparently it needs to be said. Don't send hate messages or rape or murder threats to people who criticize you. Even if you disagree with someone, that doesn't mean that they deserve that. We can disagree peacefully.
I disagreed peacefully with Leigh Alexander. What I got was telling me that I was dead, and then all other internet publications that do gaming told me that I was dead. Need I say more?
Even if your threat is hollow, they don't know that. And even if they do know that, it can still take a toll on their mental health.
Cut the bullshit already, okay? You don't give a rat's ass about these people's feelings. You don't give a shit. They're just a tool, a use for this argument, so you can tell me to not send threats, even though I've never sent a threat in my life. You're trying to. This is just an excuse for you to control the way that I think and feel and what I should say. You don't give a rat's ass about these people. You're the one who's hollow. And by the way, most people know that most threats online are hollow. Most people know that. And if they do think that there is some inkling to this, call the FBI, call the cops, block these people. Block them. Cyberbullying can be stopped if more people use the block button in the way it's meant to be used. Not to shut off other people's arguments that they don't like, because this is what you really mean by threats and harassment. You do not mean people actually threatening and harassing people. You mean other fucking opinions. You're just trying to say, block out all other opinions other than my own, feminism and social justice, and bask in the poison Kool-Aid and the echo chamber we have created for each other. That's what you're saying. That is what you're saying. See, all this so-called harassment can be stopped if it's Sarkeesian just blocked them. Oh wait, she did block them, didn't she? Yeah, she did block us all. Yeah, she's still getting harassed apparently. Apparently, well,
I know this isn't going to convince everyone. I'm sure I'll find some very creative homophobic and transphobic slurs down in the comments, but I'm hoping that I can convince at least a few of you.
There, you see? You expect people to send you threats and homophobic and transphobic shit. So how come you can handle that, but you can't handle shit said by 12 and 16-year-olds online doing Halo on Xbox Live? I call bullshit.
Throwing threats and insults around doesn't do anything to help your cause. In fact, it only proves why women and LGBTQ+ people don't feel safe in nerd culture.
Right. You see, it's not us. It's you. It's you telling them about this harassment, this perceived harassment that doesn't exist, which is why they're scared. It's you fear-mongering and telling them all this. Stop bullshitting me. Stop bullshitting them. Just because of an agenda and a narrative, and for your politics. It's wrong, but you know, I'm just one guy. I have less subscribers than you, but that's okay. I'm punching up, Lacey. I'm punching up.
Alright, well that is everything I have for you today. This video is a part of a series I'm doing for Everyday Feminism, a website dedicated to helping you stand up to and break down everyday oppression. So I'll put some links down below so you can check out my previous videos in the series. And let me know in the comments section if you can think of any more ways that we can make nerd culture more accepting and more inclusive. Thanks so much for watching, I love you all, and I'll see you next week.
I find it so fucking ironic that these people think they're so oppressed, yet they're the ones doing the oppressing. It's funny, isn't it? We didn't think our next oppressors would be the ones saying that they're the ones being oppressed by us. We all imagined it would be people like Jack Thompson. We all thought it would be people like Mary Whitehouse that will be the ones basically just fucking oppressing us and telling us how to speak, or, the usual right-wing authoritarian and left-wing authoritarian things. But no, it's these people, these special snowflakes like this person here, who pretend to be the oppressed so that they can oppress other people under the veneer that they're just trying to make things better. It's astounding, and I cannot believe that they have been allowed to be as parasitical as they have been. I mean, why are people so afraid? Why should we be afraid of these people? They are not the moral arbiters of justice and peace and equality and diversity. Just like how the right-wing authoritarians were not the moral arbiters as well, and they were not the ones who we had to pander to. You know, nobody was scared of them. But why are we scared of these people? They're saying the exact same things, but in a left-wing way. Why are we so scared of it? It's the same girl in a different dress. That's all it is. It's the same thing. Yet developers are running scared because they don't want to seem like they're racist and they're sexist and they're transphobic and they're homophobic. Because these things have lost their value now. These things are no longer racism and homophobia, etc. They're just weapons used by social justice warriors to shame and harm and disrupt people. That's all they are. They're weapons. They have no meaning anymore. They have no meaning. Except, I guess now their meaning is weapon. A weapon to shame. It's no longer, you know, like something to do with the Ku Klux Klan or whatever, you know, or the Black Panthers. No. It's just a shaming tactic. And it's fucking tiring. This video was tiring to do because it just got more Orwellian, it became more nightmarish. Incredible. But anyway, people, I'll leave you with this. Don't let these people control you. Don't let them tell you what to do. You are as inclusive as you can possibly be, nerds and geeks. You're letting people in anyway, just because you share the same passions and likes and dislikes. You do not know how inclusive you already are. How else would she be able to get up there and tell you how oppressive you are if you didn't allow her in? You see? It's all one big ironic mess, these people, and the sooner we point out that, the better. Anyway, don't let them get you down, okay? Don't let the bastards grind you down. This has been CharmingMan93. Like, share the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all tomorrow.